Hi everyone, it's Shamila Ramjawan coming to you from the Red Corner Show in Johannesburg, South Africa. It's day 5 of Women's Month in South Africa, and my guest today is Professor Rosalyn Kahn from the USA. Professor Kahn is a college professor and a public speaking instructor at the Los Angeles City College. She's also an author, international motivational speaker, and speech coach. Professor Kahn has been an educator for the last 20 years, teaching public speaking. Several years ago, she attended her first TEDx conference in Pasadena. She was immediately drawn into the TEDx fever. She followed her expertise to coach 10 TEDx speakers from November to present. She also spoke on TEDx stages 3 times with Language Comes to Life, Coming Around the Curve, and Breaking Cultural Barriers. Professor Kahn began her business coaching and professional speaking career 3 years ago. And we welcome Professor Rosalyn Kahn to the Red Corner Show. Hello, Professor.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
Oh, doing beautifully. Thank you for welcoming me to Johannesburg. I'd love to come there and, give you a hug one of these days, but that's always up and coming. We'll
You are
set that up
most
for another day.
welcome. You are most welcome anytime.
Yes, it's a truly an honor and a privilege to be here. I remember I was doing a call for the women of Nigeria, and you were the most outspoken person on that call, and I so appreciate your comments and your feedback in that. It was just beautiful teaching English and help empowering the women of Africa. It's great stuff.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. What a wonderful compliment. Wow. Professor Kahn, please tell the audience about yourself, a little bit about your background, where you are now, anything that you'd like to share as an introduction.
Sure. My name is Rosalyn Kahn, and I was born in Los Angeles. I was actually born in San Diego, California. I'm one of 7 children. My father was an accountant and a consultant in industry, and my mother was a stay-at-home wife that did lots of stuff volunteering, and I think that's what gives me my volunteering spirit. Being one of 7 children, I was the fifth kid, and probably the most interesting thing about my childhood was coming up with scoliosis at the age of 13. And I entered school in a body cast. And actually, one of the talks I gave on the TED stage was language comes to life and how that made me a more compassionate human being. I fast forward to later on in life. I spent a year traveling in a group called Up With People that traveled the world promoting cultural understanding. And it was in that year that I actually had 2 people from South Africa who came in and joined our group. One was from an African American background, another one was from a Caucasian background, and those experiences have stayed with me to this day. Following that, I got involved in the working world. I was involved in retail. I was involved in sales, worked for a company that's called Costco. And later on, I migrated to going back to school, getting a degree in speech communication, and working in private industry and training some people in private industry on the skills of public speaking, on management and supervisory training. And then as the economy took a dive, I reinvented myself by becoming not only a teacher in the classroom, but did some consulting in private industry. And, the rest is history.
What an interesting journey. What intrigues me the most is becoming a TEDx speaker. How did that happen?
Well, that was really interesting because that came from my college experience. When I was in college, I didn't make it to become a teaching assistant, but the dean said you should really join this organization that's called the American Society of Training and Development. And in there, I met a gentleman, and Tom Lenzo had introduced me to this concept of this thing called TED, and I didn't know what TED was about. But once I went, I absolutely fell in love with it. And they say that the key to getting involved in anything is to volunteer. So I volunteered and met all the organizers. And one day there was a roundup for speakers. So I went out to that group and I sat down, and everyone was sitting in elementary school kid age chairs for 7-year-olds. And I said, "Hi, my name is Rosalind, and I'm a college teacher, and I'm just here to learn." And before the break was over, this lady came up to me and said, "Oh my God, we need your help. I have all these people who are speakers and they need help on people who can help them." And I did about 10 of them, and I finally figured after 10 of them as a volunteer, it was my turn. So one night I went online and I applied to these different places and went to a storyteller group over in Santa Monica where they took my video and came back and found that there was an answer waiting for me. And someone that I'd sent a request to, his name was Don Levy, had an event that was in Calabasas, and he gave me an offer to go ahead and present on his stage. And the one video I sent was the one that I had done in that workshop where I was on those chairs with the 7-year-olds. And so that was the beginning of becoming a TED speaker on the TED stage. And it was from that experience that another window opened up, that some other organizers that had met me on that first day wanted me to come out and speak to their organizations as well. And as I wanted to go ahead and practice, another one came up and got to do another one, and that's number 3. And I'm still on the rampage to try and get number 4.
Awesome. And you definitely will do that. I know that.
Well, I said one of my great accomplishments this week was getting my YouTube to become an official YouTube account. You have to get over 100. And I remember being in Nigeria and I was at 78 or something like that and saying, can you help me? Can you please help me? And as I got to the 80 and I got to the 84, I decided on this one day, I don't care who messaged me on LinkedIn. It was one message only. Will you please subscribe to my YouTube channel? And so that night, as it was 8:40 p.m., and an email came on my screen, I said, yes, I did it. And the sad thing is I couldn't share it on LinkedIn. I was supposed to take a picture and share it, but there's so much to share. Being a public figure, it's really hard. You know that. You're involved in 3 groups. You have 3 organizations. We talked about being over busy.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough keeping all those balls straight.
For sure. We've got to juggle those balls.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And it's like everybody always wants something. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? Can you post this? Can you post that? And they help us. We need to help them. But, as a friend of mine said, you got to ask yourself, what's most important? What's the most important thing I need to do today? And it's a challenge.
Everything's important. We tend to get up in the morning, we want to prioritize, and we look at our to-do list, and everything is just as important.
Right. I had a coach that said what was important, what was urgent, and what was absolutely necessary.
Yes.
Everything's that's important. If you were to die tomorrow and if you didn't do that, those would be the things that you should do first. I'm great at telling other people.
Yes. Well, I suppose as you juggle around, you get used to getting getting to know what is most important, and also meeting the deadlines to ensure that you do meet the deadlines, which is also very important. And especially, coming from academia, what we go through with deadlines.
Oh yes, oh yes. If you don't send those things in on time, your students don't get grades. They don't get to graduate, and you don't want to be in that place. And we both are professors. What do you teach in the university?
Actually, I'm not a professor, not there yet.
Oh,
So I'm a business management lecturer.
great, fantastic.
Yes, right
Yes,
up my alley, entrepreneurship.
oh, that's wonderful. I used to help people out who were business people doing management and supervisory training in the business arena till the economy took a dive.
Yeah, always. I mean, look at COVID, what COVID has done to all of us. But just getting back to your TEDx, I'm very interested about that. We do know, TEDx speakers get on the stage, 18 minutes, you're gonna really punch your stuff, get it all punchy. What advice would you give to people out there?
Well, the first advice is everybody wants to promote their business. And the first thing I let people know is you're not there to sell you. You're not there to sell your books. You're there to give a message to the world that people haven't heard before. And so it's thinking about what in your life is unique and different that you've done that no one else has done before, that you can leave a message, they'll walk away and they'll go, oh my gosh, that is absolutely breathtaking. And so it's kind of, I like to ask this question, and a friend of mine said, when you asked that question, it really made sense. And it's this simple question. If you were to die tomorrow and it was your last day, what is the one message you would want to share with the world? And it stops and it gets people to really think about what's really, really important. And once you have that message, you've got to craft it into, you know, a 2-minute speech, and then you have to craft it into longer. And, it's always best to get someone who has that experience, who's been down that path. And that's specifically what I do is helping people look at that message, craft it into originality, put a compelling title on it, and work with them on the body language, the gestures, and the written word to make it come to life when they come on stage.
Amazing. That says it all in a nutshell.
That's it, pure and simple. Pure and simple.
Yes, I think body language is so important, and a lot of people get that incorrect.
It's interesting. We can tell a lot from body language, and a real simple exercise I tell the students in my classroom is turn on tonight's news and turn off the volume and see if you can figure out what's going on and happening. And I was on a show with a 10-year-old boy. His name is Tiberius, the Tiberius show. And he was doing his math, and I was supposed to be doing these gestures. And so I look at it and I go, oh, that's horrible. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. And the whole thing was trying to create some gestures and following. And you can see with those simple gestures, excitement, anger, frustration, surprise. And people are timid. They don't want to show my face. I want people to see. Really? And those are just some of the simple little small little faces that they say bring stories to life. And we all did this when we were kids. Why can't we take those childhood passions and bring them back? Imagine you go read to a grandchild or go to a local children's center and take out a book and start reading to children. We all have that in us, but sometimes it gets lost in the path of life.
Yes, I think it's all about time management. And these days, that's what we tend to forget is, some things we have to work according to routine, but we need to slot in the other important things in our lives. For example, not forgetting your kids, because I think that is so important to slot them into your day. And, with busy days and stuff, we can overlook so many different things, but your family comes first.
You're exactly right, because if you don't have your family, what do you have in the world? There's nothing but the ones that surround you. My husband sent me a message today on the phone. He says, it's your sister's birthday. I'm like, yep. I was on her page. The very first thing that I did before, that's important, is remembering your family and your loved ones on their days, and that exercise. I was down on the floor doing my morning routine, and you've got to get that body going. I was falling asleep, and I was up, and I was doing my shaking exercise. You get your hands and you shake and get the blood going, and shake them as fast as you can, and that goes ahead and wakes you up, because I was ready to go back to sleep. Great way to change the mind when other stuff is happening. Is just get some shaking going down.
That's a nice way to start the day.
Yep.
Lots of advice from you today, Prof Kahn. But just talking about you being an Amazon best-selling author, take me through that journey, and how many books did you write altogether?
Well, it's really an exciting experience, because I've written many, many books by myself and collaborated with many other. There was a fine lady that I'm in association with. Her name is Robbie Motter. I'm sure that you know her.
Oh, yes, I love Robbie Motter.
She is just such a giving and a woman with huge heart. I hope that when I grow up, I can be just like her. But she had a book that she was putting together, and they were inspiring stories. And she offered the chance that anybody who could contribute a story to that book could have the opportunity to be in a bestseller. So I jumped on that bandwagon and wrote my story, got it in, met the deadline. Many people didn't meet the deadline. And so I can now add to my accolades that I'm an international best-selling.
How amazing. Congratulations.
Yep. I've got several that I've written on my own, and I'd love to move those to the same propellant. The one behind me is called A Message for Tomorrow's Leaders. It came out on Christmas of last year. And it's really a book of inspiring today's youth to stay committed to education. There's 46 views from people from the age of 12 to 88. A 12-year-old humanitarian whose name is AJ Stunts, who's a motorcycle rider. He's also a stunt man, and he gives so much back to society, talking about going ahead and getting the shot for the pandemic, or celebrating Black Lives Matter, or Cinco de Mayo. He is always out giving back to society. There's actually an award ceremony coming up with Dr. Makaka, and I've nominated him for one of the positions and things like that. I need to follow up and make sure he's there. But the young Tiberius knew him. He says, he's a stunt car rider. I know who he is. And on the other end of the echelon is a lady whose name is Pink Lady, who's an 88-year-old ball of fire and energy.
Isn't she gorgeous?
She is gorgeous, incredible, and wonderful. And see how our small world is? And Robbie's in there. Angela
Wow.
Cadet is in there. Joan Wakeland's in there. Angeline Benjamin's in there. So I've got some classy women. Even Joan Wakeland is in that book.
Phenomenal. We need to get some of those women on my chat show.
Oh yes, definitely.
Awesome.
It's all about, just sharing the love with these different people and what they're up to and what they're doing, and it's just wonderful.
Yes, perfect. So I will be asking you for some contact details, please.
Certainly.
Prof Kahn, just on your accolades, and you've been given numerous awards. You have a lot of recognition. Anything that stands out for you?
Well, I think the one that you and I had met on the Women Awarding Women, for my professing in the college. Oftentimes as a college teacher, it's kind of a lonely path. It's like your students in your classroom, if you meet with other people. And to know me and what I've done with my students, let me just give you a short recap.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to a student last night who was one of my students many years ago. She was in one of my first TED Talks. It's called Language Comes to Life. And I had encouraged her to get a scholarship, and she was an artist at the time. She was a very, very good, prolific artist. She even invited me out to one of her art exhibitions. And I went, and I had my students volunteer for service learning, and she went and she invited all the students out to their place. And she at one point wanted to work with helping in the labor movement, getting people's rights and things like that. But she decided that there was too much pressure in being an artist, and she really loved playing chess. So what she does now is she teaches young children about how to play chess and how to become more prolific in that. Her name is Tatiana Sevenyenko. She and I just had a conversation on the phone last night. There's another student of mine. His name is Michael Cologne, and he gave a speech about the death of the person in Wyoming who was a gay person who was put on the post, and how much that had impacted him. And he's now a screenwriter, and he's also had a book out on photography, and he just keeps reinventing himself. Another student of mine is a woman by the name of Nicole Ionesi. Her parents owned a store called Noel's Fashions, and she was a student in my class and said the most important thing that she learned was from that speaking. So, as I say, getting that award and that recognition as a teacher for helping my students to be the success that they are has really changed my life. And every once in a while I'm able to get one or two people from my class to follow me, and they're just fascinated by the things that they see that I've done outside of the world of teaching, what I do on the other part of the world. It's truly beautiful.
That is great. And you're such an inspiration. I'm sure, a lot of your students follow you and they can see what you've achieved as well.
Oh, thank you so much. It's really amazing. There was one Hollywood show that I was in, Galina Kapani, that I was out on the front and I was interviewing people, and they had said, um, she'd come up to me and she said, I remember you were writing a book. Whatever happened with that book? And I went inside, and it was the first book that I had written called Random Acts of Kindness Are Changing the World. And we were in the process of that. And then there's another story. I was in Northern California, which is up the state of California, a plane ride an hour and a half, a drive about 9 hours apart. And I was in the parking lot, and I met one of the students who I taught at one of the colleges. And it was like, you never know. A movie theater, another student came out. They're everywhere. But the beauty is, and when you take my class, I say, you never know when the moment in your life is going to come when you need to give that speech. You're going to stop and thank Professor Kahn for giving you that talent and that skill and that fortitude to make it happen. And that's what I do.
What great recognition. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Prof Kahn, it's Women's Month in South Africa. What would be your best message of inspiration to women on a global scale, not just South Africa?
Well, there's a lady, her name is Grandma Sparky. And Grandma Sparky is a wonderful lady that hands you this beautiful blue ribbon. And everywhere I go, I'm sharing Grandma Sparky's message. And the message is for every woman to know that I believe in you. I believe you can accomplish anything that you put your mind to, anything you desire, you can set out and you can achieve. And if every morning that you get up and you remember those words, and you say the words, I believe in me, and I make a difference, and I'm important, we can take the negative mindset that our mind gives us and transform it into positivity. Because believe me, even in all the accolades I do have those moments. I do have those questions. But I just shake my hands, remind myself of what I've done. And when we stop and we give gratitude, gratitude is the key to life and happiness. And if you can wake up every day and say those moments of gratitude, that's all that really matters, is being grateful for the things that you have. Having friends like Jamila, who's over on the other side of the world, who's sharing this message with humanity, and forgives me for massacring her name, but it's all with the intent that you and I are changing this world as we know it. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, I'm on all social media platforms as Rosalyn Kahn, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and you can see what I'm up to. And anybody who goes ahead and sends me a message on those platforms, I will gift you a 15-minute session of free consultation on your presentation skills to help you to get to where you want to be. So just send that message to me, subscribe to my page on Facebook. You can follow me on LinkedIn, and I'll be there for you. Thank you so much.
What a wonderful way to end. Well, I'm going to actually end with gratitude as well. Thank you so much for coming on board and chatting to me on the Red Corner Show. Truly enjoyed this chat. And yes, I'm going to take you up on that 15-minute offer to upskill myself on presentation skills.
Awesome. I love it. And it's people helping people. And I just want to say to the people out there in the world when you're listening, is the world gifts us with favors. It's always nice to give back. It doesn't cost money. It could be some simple skill or knowledge that you have. After listening to this show, do someone a favor. Someone who doesn't expect it, give them a call and say, you know what? I haven't seen you for a while. Let's just stop and have a coffee. What do you say?
Yes, I so believe that. And I think, what people can actually start doing now is following you on social media and subscribing to your channel, because you need to reach the next milestone on YouTube.
Oh my God, that is definitely it. It was quite a moment in taking reaching to that 104, and the next one is 200. You can subscribe to me, and you can also subscribe to the Red Corner Show, because she's got some great people coming up. You subscribe, we subscribe, and we all subscribe together, because there's wonderful messages out there that beat the stuff that you hear on the news and the stuff that's coming on your screen. Listen to positive messages. That's what we need to hear.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Professor Rosalyn Kahn from the USA, on day 5 of Women's Month South Africa, chatting to me on the Red Corner Show. And if you would like to come on the show, please drop me an email, redcornershow@gmail.com. And you too can be inspiring people just like Professor Kahn. Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you. God bless.